is that, it's Lucy Liu. She's going to be kind of arch and funny and sniping at homes, and you're kind of the straight man on the show ultimately.
It is. It's very strange. It's different. I'm enjoying it because I get to explore a different side of what I've done in my career, which is I don't have to run around with a gun. I don't have to fall. I did a season of Southland the year before, and it was really fun. It was amazing. Small movie, and everyone will go see it. But you made no money, so it doesn't matter really. It's like, what is your absolute?
But you made no money, so it doesn't matter really. It's like, what is? No money, so it doesn't matter.
And being able to work with him on Shanghai Noon so long ago.
And being able to work with him on Shanghai Noon so long ago. And being able to work with him on Shanghai Noon so long ago.
So you're just smart enough for him to...
I'm just eking by. And, I think her medical knowledge also helps a lot, too.
I think but I get the feeling in the show that she feels like she's just eking by sometimes. Like
she is. I think she's just kind of, I think there are moments where she's just riding by the seat of her pants because first of all, she's dealing with a personality that's very different from what she's, familiar with. Mm-hmm. Second of all, she's dealing with something she's unfamiliar with. She's dealing with somebody who's used to being at crime scenes where there's, somebody's been bludgeoned and killed. And she's used to seeing that probably, but at the hospital. She doesn't show up and, what's happening at the crime scene. So it's very different. And I think in the beginning we did sort of touch upon that where she'd show up and he's like, stop being so, squeamish about it. And she's like, look, this is not something that's the same thing as when the person shows up at the hospital. Mm-hmm. This is the crime scene where there's, they've been bludgeoned, they've been killed. There's, there's handprints everywhere. Yeah, there's things going on.
Yeah. So has that challenge been fun? Have you found it challenging, or is it just another? Obviously it's not just another gig, but is playing a role that is so relatively low key something you have to look for as an actor?
I think so. I don't know if you look for it. I think it sometimes comes to you. And I think for me to play a character that is so immersed in that kind of history and literature, it was a really great honor. And it was also very intimidating just because it's so well loved, the character of Watson. Mm-hmm. And it has also morphed over the years. I think in the literature itself, Watson is somebody who is, narrating Sherlock and is a very close friend and partner to him. Mm-hmm. And is invited to come to crime scenes. But I think in the other films and other television shows, Watson became somebody who was sort of a little bit bumbling and ended up having his foot in the bucket. And do you know what I mean? So we kind of had to work away from that. And, in a lot of the interviews we had in the beginning, a lot of people said, what's it going to be like? You're going to be the sidekick. They label Watson as the sidekick or as the foil. And, it wasn't an insult to me. It was more like, I guess that's what you've seen before, mm-hmm. but we're trying to do something quite different. And you do have to have that tension between two characters, I think, in order to make it interesting and dramatic and make it work. Because you don't want that to be sort of like, oh, I'm just sticking around. I'm just, every time he turns up, I'm his shadow. And you want to make that something. And I think there's a deep mystery about Watson that we mm-hmm. don't really sober when they have an addiction, it's an emotional issue, and there's an undercurrent of absolute pain. And people don't understand. They say, oh, it's a disease, but they don't really understand what a disease is. Mm. Disease is something you can, punctuate with medication or with physical therapy, but this is not about that. It's something that is incredibly difficult to I don't know, it's not tangible, so people don't always mm-hmm. understand it. They can label it a disease or he's an alcoholic, and everyone's mm-hmm. like, oh my God, he's, he did heroin. But no one really knows what that is.
Right.
So we're trying to bring that, and also to a broad audience like CBS, that's a big deal. Normally, here's somebody who's really intelligent and they have, this kind of behavior, but they don't label it. And it's interesting to have that. I think they took a chance by doing that for a network.
Well, they continue to take the chance. Because it's not a show where it's like, okay, let's go look at AA now, and then next episode we won't do it.
Right.
It feels just like an even through line through the show. There's always that lingering issue that's hanging over their lives.
I think that's important. It should be sort of a humming in the background, but mm-hmm. it's not always on the forefront because people, they don't want to make it about that, but there is that, procedural aspect of the show as well.
So you've been doing this for a while,
I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I can't even believe that.
and you
'cause
said it
just
out
flew
loud
by.
without choking or anything.
No, I mean, I didn't even dawn on me. Somebody wanted to give me an award, and I was like, "What do they want to give me an award for?" And then, then they had this sort of compilation reel of all the things that I'd done, and I just couldn't believe how time had just flown by, you know? Because I feel like I'm still learning, and I feel like I'm still figuring things out, and just getting. I mean, I'm not comfortable. I'm still figuring it out in a way that it feels good. It feels fresh, and that was pretty much it. But it still didn't make me, it didn't deter me from thinking that it was possible. I don't know. I watched Three's Company, which was illegal in our house, to watch two women living with one man, There
So
no one
forget
was
about doing
married.
it. You couldn't even watch it. It was.
We weren't allowed to watch that. We would just sneak that in, and we hear them coming. We're like, oh my God, shut the television. And we'd spill food, which we were supposed to be eating in the living room anyway.
Your parents were the Ropers. In this
My parents were the Rovers. I don't know. It was terrible. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's been a really exciting, lifetime being in this creative world. And
Was that it though? I mean, did it seem
Things have
glamorous,
changed
or
so
did it
much.
seem like you just wanted to perform and be creative, or?
it was always about performing and being creative. I would always say to my team of people, like, I really don't care about the money. Let's just make the deal. Like, don't ever say that again, because their idea of everything was negotiation. And for me, it's like, I really want to do the work. I really want to do something different. I want to be creative, and I understand there's a system. I mean, it's a machine, and there's so many different cogs that make it work. And to even work in this industry is kind of a miracle. I mean, that being said, the industry has changed quite a bit. Now it's internet. You almost can't keep up. There's so many different channels. I mean, there's no way you can, if you want to watch something, you can download it, maybe at the end of the season. But it's just a different lifestyle. I mean, now there's reality shows too. And I have to say, when I look at a photograph, I don't even know who 3/4 of the people are anymore. I'm so out of the zeitgeist. It's crazy.
Well, you're over 20 now. So it's like people forget that the entire industry, film and television, is really kind of, some television is a little different, but a lot of it's aimed for people under 25,
Well,
particularly
also,
movies.
but the reality idea to me is strange, to follow somebody in their life when, we're supposed to be, as actors in this creative field, we're representing people, do you know what I mean? And so we're people that we think, we're creating a character of somebody, and then there's people who are themselves, that's who they are, and they're becoming famous off of that. It's just a very strange entity, because it's sort of like when you go and see a show, you break when you break the wall,
Right.
but why are they talking to the audience? They should be talking to one another. So it sort of, to me, it feels strange when they break that, when the reality show sort of comes up and it crops up and it becomes something that is, is it real or is it not? That's my question.
So we're not expecting you on Dancing with the Stars or Splash.